Welcome into the Dan Presel Show here on the SHC Athletics YouTube channel. Charlie Harrison along head coach of Badgers women's basketball, Dan Presel. Coach, new year, new things going on. How's it been?
It's been good. Feels like it's been a while since we sat down. Lots happened. Great holiday, great New Year. Couple games. We're off and running, man. It's conference stretch, home stretch right here.
There you go. Now, I have to ask before we get into the basketball side of things, any New Year's resolutions?
No resolutions. Like I just gotta. I always have a hard time this time of year, like keeping up my workouts, eating well. Those kind of things. I always that's a struggle for me every year. I've been doing this for 25 years now, and it gets harder every year. So that's the only goal. I'm trying to maintain a somewhat healthy lifestyle this time of year.
It's always so tough to me because, like, it's the holidays. I'm very routine oriented. Like, I know I want to get up, I want to do this, then I want to go to the gym, then I want to do this. And I feel like I can't ever get into the swing of that with everything going on.
Yeah, you got to make time. It can be done. There are enough hours. Just got to do it. And I have a hard time. Easier said than done.
Exactly. Now, looking back to what's been going on since the last time we talked, played a couple of games, took on Edward Waters here at home. That one ends up dropping 55-43, took on Clark Atlanta up in Atlanta. Didn't go your way, 80-50, the final score of that one. Want to start with that Edward Waters game. You guys played really well. I got to sit and watch the second half of that one. Seemed several times like you were really starting to cut into it. Got it down to 2 a couple of times. What went right? What went wrong?
Well, I mean, first of all, you got to give credit to Edward Waters. Especially coming off of that Savannah State game, the game before, we played the best game of our season. So, the goal is to maintain a high level. And offensively, they gave us some problems that we had not seen throughout the year. And it was hard for us to adjust. They did a good job at taking Kellen Hunter away, and it was hard for us to adjust from there. We cut it to 2, and we're fought and clawed our way back and that's what our kids have done all year.
Yeah.
They're gonna fight and play till the horn is at all zeros, but just didn't have quite enough down the stretch to overcome. It's like comebacks a lot of times in sports are easy, but it's really hard to come back and win.
Right.
And just didn't have quite enough to get over the hump there.
Now, then you go on the road to open up the new year. First matchup, Clark Atlanta. That didn't go your way, and it didn't go your way in a way we're not used to seeing this season. Y'all have managed to keep a lot of opponents close, really battle with guys.
Yeah.
This one seemed to get away from you a little bit
Yeah,
more.
I mean, Happy New Year, right? Man,
right.
It was tough. Hats off again. Listen, they're in my opinion the most talented team in the league. They've had some great wins. They beat Tampa, who University of Tampa at the beginning of the year was like top. I think they were 2 or 3 in the country, and going down there and beat them. So that just tells you right there the kind of talent they have. I think they were a little pissed off that we beat them last year on the HBCU Go TV game.
Yeah.
So we definitely were not sneaking up on them.
Right.
And they came out, man, coming off a big win against Miles, just came out, and we could never match their force, just their oomph level, like I call it.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of, we were second everywhere. We were playing on our heels a little bit, and we didn't really represent the kind of basketball that we've been showing or that we want to play.
So, Coach, we mentioned that you guys were coming back for break for this Clark Atlanta game. What was kind of the timeline coming back? I know you guys had to take 7 days off. You played on the 21st, then you're back on the road for the 4th. And, did you feel like you got the practice and preparation you needed in for that game?
Yeah, we absolutely got the amount of practice time required. Looking back, our preparation clearly wasn't good enough based on the result. But definitely, we came back and had a week to practice and prepare and get our legs under us and get that rhythm back. That basketball, is kind of unique sport and such a rhythm sport with 5 players really so interconnected. So we had time. We just, we clearly didn't make great usage of it.
Well, you had some good things in there. I'll give you that. You got a couple of players back who've been missing some time. It was really good to see that. Specifically, Lori Severe came in and put up a season-high 9. Nicole Blanche was back in the lineup for the
Right.
first time in about a month. How good was it having those bodies
I mean,
back
it's
in?
great. You know, we're almost at full strength. You know, hopefully we get Claudia back very soon, and we're at full strength. And but it's great. It's great to see. Like they both bring a lot. You know, Lori has a real ability to be a really good player in our league, and really a good player at Spring Hill College. So great to see her back on the floor and getting a rhythm. She's a natural scorer and gives us a really good athlete, big body that can do a lot of versatile things. So hopefully this is the start for her of a great 2 months. And then Nicole does so much for us, just that you don't really see on the court a lot of times. She's a great voice for us, a really good leader, a real connector of everybody at her best. So. You know, and she can make shots. So, you know, anytime you got a kid out there that run around as a threat like that, man, it's just a plus.
You mentioned it, Garrido being out for a couple of games now was shaken up in that Edward Waters game. She brings a lot of that 3-point shooting element for you guys offensively, and she's really a dog defensively. I mean, she's all over the place making plays.
She is.
How do you sub in for a player like that?
Well, yeah, you don't replace guys like that. Now it takes everybody, you know, stepping up to help. But she does so much for us, and not only and she can defend the other team's best perimeter guy and make shots, but she is a playmaker, and she also is as good as anybody I've ever coached at the stuff in between the plays that really makes it happen. You know, the talk, the connecting. And the constant friendly reminders to our teammates of what has to happen next. She is awesome at that, and it's hard to replace that. You don't replace a kid like that. But on the flip side, it gives everybody an opportunity to step outside of their comfort zone a little bit and grow as a player.
Yeah.
And when you lose a guy like that, when you lose a player like that for any kind of stretch, that's what needs to happen.
Now, you mentioned the communication she brings to you too. Who have you been kind of seeing step up into that role? Because I know, like, you've got Kellen Hunter, obviously a great player, but she's still very young, whereas Garrido's that red shirt, senior presence. You've got a lot of players who are kind of like that. So how are you, you know, finding somebody to fill that vocal voice?
Well, again, I don't know if anybody fills it completely, but we just need everyone to be a little better than they are right now.
Well, and I want to ask this too, speaking of the players individually, if you had to give out an award for first half of the season MVP, who are you picking and why?
I mean, I don't know. We've had a lot of great effort. I mean, obviously, you got to start with like Kellen Hunter and Marta Duda.
Right.
And you got to go with those guys because of just the consistency, the high level that they perform at every day kind of sets the tone. And, you know, they carry a lot of the load when it comes to the stats.
And the second part of this question, who do you consider the most improved player so far this season? If we're going to walk in and we want to see somebody whose game has changed day one to now, who are we looking for?
You know, that's a good question, man. I think in some ways you can point out a few different players. I think Tiana Smith has really gotten more comfortable on the perimeter and just in the flow of the game in general. You know, but the thing with her is she's come a long ways, and I can see her going a lot further.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you can. Hopefully, the goal is, Charlie, is everybody. You can say that about everybody in your program. And I could probably go down the list and say, you know, where people have improved. But to give you a one answer, I'd say Tiana Smith has really taken some steps.
She's really impressed me, and like I've been able to watch her get more and more comfortable in what seems to be that kind of traditional 5 role for you guys, right? You know, she gets down there, she blocks a lot of shots, she does a lot underneath, and it seems like it helps open up Duda's 3-point shooting as well.
Yeah, and actually, you know, last year we were playing Tiana at the 4 a lot, and we moved her to the wing this year.
Yeah.
You know, based on she was really being outweighed a lot of nights. She's a triple jumper. You know, she's got the track athletes. You know.
Yeah.
Build. So, you know, she's been very good defensively for us. I think she's leading our team in block shots and rebounds, about 5 or 6.
If I'm not mistaken, she's top 5 in the conference too with the block shots.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
So she's definitely played well. I've also really been impressed with Jaleisha Mann, especially the past couple of weeks. You know, she had a couple of double-digit performances mixed in there. What does she bring as far as being able to get Kellen Hunter off the floor for a couple of
Well,
minutes?
not only off the floor, but she kind of alleviates some of the ball handling when Kellen's on the floor, and she's just been awesome. She's just a great kid. On every team there are players that the whole team rallies around and roots for a little more than others, and she's
Yeah.
definitely that. And she's just been awesome. She's made a big jump this year too. You talk about improvement in her skill level and just her confidence, and it's been fun these last few weeks, especially to see her confidence grow and her belief in herself grow. And it's been showing on the court. I mean, without a doubt.
And you mentioned it too, not just getting Kellen off the court, but kind of relieving some of those ball handling duties. That's got to be nice considering your main scorer is your point guard a lot
Yeah,
of the
no,
time.
it is, and teams are going to try to take her away. So it gives you the ability to still play with some kind of flow. With another point guard or a secondary, another kind of point guard on the floor. And it just gives your team a lot more versatility and a lot
Yeah.
more solutions for the different coverages you see.
Well, Coach, right around the corner, we've got Clark Atlanta coming up this afternoon. We'll talk about it in the next segment. You're listening or you're watching the Dan Presel Show here on the SHC Athletics YouTube channel.
This is the way down a path that leads to a place upon the hill, led by thought leaders, activists, and Jesuit princes. Among the hill is where tradition and a strong desire to do and achieve reside. Ingrained in rich tradition, filled with purpose, fueled by passion. Springhill College is for those who seek more.
Welcome back to the Dan Presel Show here on the SHC Athletics YouTube channel. Coach, we talked about what went on last week in our last segment. Today, we almost feel like we're talking about what went on last week. You've got back-to-back games against Clark Atlanta.
Yeah, and this is not going to count in the league standings.
Okay.
We just scheduling wise, it kind of fit. Our league wanted to play more out of standings league games just for geographic, and other reasons. So we're back at it with Clark. Got them at home tonight. And like very rarely do you get a chance in life or in sports to kind of try to right the wrongs, right?
Right.
So it's a great chance for our kids to really respond to not playing to the standard that we want to play to with a quick turnaround against a really good team.
Yeah, you mentioned it in our last segment. This was a team you had the HBCTV game against last year. You beat them in that one.
Right.
And then you come out, just not your best performance
Right.
last time out. How difficult is it to play a team in back-to-back games like that? But how much do you feel it's motivated the team to go out and get this one?
I think it's really difficult because it's just human nature to kind of rely on what just happened.
Right.
When the game that we play today is very likely to not look remotely like it did a couple days ago because
Right.
every game kind of has its own life, its own thing. So I've been doing this long enough to I've been a part of teams that got their rears kicked and then turned around quickly and were able to right that wrong. So we're gonna give our best effort today to make sure we do that.
Well, Coach, looking at what went right for Clark Atlanta last time, it was definitely the defense that seemed to give you guys some problems. 11 steals, 16 total turnovers, 7 blocks, 31 defensive boards.
Right.
How do you, without giving away the secret, how do you adjust and change the game plan to take some of that away?
Well, honestly, I don't really think there is a secret. It's things aren't working in sports and basketball in general. The first answer is do it harder and better.
Right.
And then the second answer is do it harder and better. And then the third answer is change.
I like that.
So we need to get to harder and better
Okay.
today before we think about changing.
I got to ask Coach Kennedy about this when it comes to in-season adjustments and things like that. And you mentioned it's get harder, get better, get harder, get better, and then think about an adjustment.
Right.
If you do have to make an adjustment, what is the timeline for getting something like that done? And how do you know if it's working, if it's not? And how do you decide that in like a stretch right now where if you change something and it results in a 1-2 stretch, that could be detrimental to the long term of the season.
Yeah, I think like in the game of basketball, there's a lot. Every problem has a solution, right?
Right.
And so as you go throughout the season, you got to have different solutions for different problems. Whether it's you have different pick and roll coverages, whether you defend a post in different ways. So these are things you got to be practicing all throughout the year.
Right.
So when the time to adjust comes, you've been working on it already. So that would be, to answer your question, we've been working on all of these solutions and adjustments. It's just we've been playing a certain way for the most part and haven't changed.
And that really plays to kind of the do it better, do it harder thing for you guys,
Yeah.
right? If you're working on everything all of the time and you go in and we go, okay, so-and-so has a really good post player. We know how we want to defend the post. We know how we want to make that adjustment.
Right.
And you can do it very quickly in game.
Yeah. Well, and then, right, we did not do what we wanted to do the last chance we had to play them. So
Yeah.
we're going to come out and fight and do it harder and do it better. And if we have to make some adjustments, we'll do it. The other, I kind of missed a part. It's do it harder, do it better. Then it's sub, and then it's change.
There you go. And Coach, wanting to look around now, kind of what's been going on with the season as a whole, right? I noticed going down through the stat sheets, looking at the game comparisons and everything, the two biggest things that our games seem to swing on this season, rebounds and turnovers. When you win on the glass, you tend to win on the turnover battle. When you win on the turnover battle, you tend to win the game.
Yep.
So what is the plan kind of establishing consistency with that and making sure that's how you're conducting it game after game?
Yeah, I mean, that's been our especially lately. We try to preach when the toughness stats, and the toughness stats happen to be rebounding, loose balls, first to the floor, taking charges, but it's also turnovers. And you're right, and I think it's not just us. I think the formula in basketball to be successful is the fewer times you turn it over, the more chances you're gonna
Right.
have.
The more shots you can take, the more likely you're to make them go.
And so it's where I think a lot of and the game of basketball is so connected, like both sides of the floor, like offense connected defense.
Right.
So at Clark, man, offensively, we weren't getting the ball to the paint. We weren't challenging Clark to have to rotate, to have to scramble, to have to cover for each other, to open up those great looks for us.
Right.
And when you miss contested shots at the rim or you take bad shots, I can't explain it, but the basketball gods always punish you.
Right.
So those missed shots at the rim, those long shots, those bad shots, those bad offensive possessions usually turn into great transition possessions for the other team.
Right.
And that was really the story of the Clark game. We didn't have a chance. When we did get our defense set, we weren't our best. But there was, 24 points off of turnovers that they scored, and that led to 42 points in the paint, which is a lot. And those are things that we can control by just playing better offense.
Yeah. And you mentioned it too, winning the toughness stats. But you mentioned when we talked about Tiana Smith, she's had some issues this season, and along with Marta Duda, sometimes when you get in there and it's a really big-bodied big, it can be hard to establish that paint presence. What's kind of the thought process behind, okay, we know we're a little bit lighter. How do we then create offense off of that?
Well, I mean, and that was a lot of the thinking of sliding Tiana to the 3 and Marta to the 4 and playing, like the Madisons, and Ella Vallis has been good for us. And Jordan and Ariel Thompson now being back, just giving us a lot more size, and that's why you've seen us be able to win rebounding, the battle at some nights or a lot of nights here lately.
Well, that's definitely something to keep an eye on, and getting some of those bodies back. We've already mentioned it; it's been huge so far. Taking a look past Clark Atlanta today, you're going to be at home against Lemoyne Owen next Monday. For those of you who haven't seen that change yet, yes, it is now a home game. So they'll be coming down here next week, and on the February 26th game, we're going to be headed up to Memphis. Lemoyne Owen, you went 1-1 against them last year, and road games have been a little bit of a struggle. You traded, one up there last year, lost down here. How much have you been kind of correcting what's been going on the road, and how do you get back to that 500 formula we talked about last time?
Yeah, well, that's the trick, man. That's hard. Last year playing Lemoyne, played well up there. They had a response, and it took us a half to kind of wake up, and we kind of ran out of time. That was last year. This team for Lemoyne looks completely different. They're still big in the post, but their guards are all gone, and they got new kids. So it's different. Every year, every game's different. Every year's different.
Yeah.
Again, it's like Charlie. It's about us. Like we have to play with a certain level of enthusiasm, toughness, and just will to win, and that's really the focus for us.
Yeah.
And obviously there'll be things Lemoyne does that we'll try to take away, and ways to score against them, but it's really about us, being the best version of us.
Yeah, definitely. And, y'all are really good about that. And one thing I've noticed with this team is you have a lot of cohesion year to year, right? In an era where it seems like 2/3 of every roster is now new each season.
Yeah.
Does any of that kind of carry over? Like, do you ever have oh, they beat us last year on our home court and the girls remember that and now they want that game back?
No, I mean, I think it's human nature to just think, oh, the result went this way, so it can go a certain way, and that's not the reality. But I think we're all inclined to feel that, But again, every game's got its own life.
Yeah.
Every day's got its own life.
Right.
So really just trying to fight for the consistency and the level of performance.
Coach, I was looking at the stats getting ready for this game tonight. And one thing I noticed, so, you look at the non-conference stats, we were down in some categories. You look at the conference stats, we've really improved. I mean, we're basically upper middle of the pack in scoring, defense, scoring margin, field goal percentage, opponent field goal percentage. Yeah. Everything is coming along. Is that familiarity with the league, and is that the team starting to gel better?
Yeah, I think, hey, if you take those Clark stats away, we're looking really good.
Really good.
I think familiarity of the league it does help, but I think we've been improving.
Yeah.
And we're trying to improve week to week, day to day, and sometimes you take a couple steps back. Progress is not linear,
right,
like we wish it was, but. I just think, it's credit to our kids, continuing to work, continuing to believe in what we're doing, and committed to improving, individually and together.
Now, Coach, I want to ask this too. If you were given a grade, year 1 to year 2, how much do you feel this team has improved?
I think we've improved on the margins, which, last year, again, I hate talking about last year, we were, I think, -3 point differential, -3.5 point differential in the league.
Yeah.
So meaning we're in, 1-2 possession games every night. This year, before this Clark game, skewed the stats, we were flipped that. We were
+3, +4.
Yeah, +4, +5 even maybe. And so I think the improvement always comes within the margins,
Right.
And so that we have improved through the margins. Obviously, I want to win every stinking time we play, And so, like, if you're talking about grading, I'm going to not give myself a great grade because I would like to seen a little more improvement in the win and loss category this year.
Right. Well, that definitely makes sense. And, I appreciate that about you, that you're harder on you than the players.
Yeah. I probably need to bring them up to my level of of that.
From what I've seen of them post game, based off of wins and losses, they're already there. They buy into the system, and that makes a huge difference.
Well, it's fun. Like, we got a bunch of great kids, and I think any. That's number one for me. Great students that are great fits for Spring Hill College that are really good kids. Like those, I've always been of the impression, I always want to motivate the motivated.
Right.
It's much easier that way. It's much more fulfilling. And I think the group, when you got a lot of high character, high achievers, they kind of feed off each other.
Now, Coach, final question on this segment. Starting to kind of get back into the swing of things. Classes are going to be starting back soon. Right. How important is it to get the kids back into their full day-to-day routine?
Well, I mean, that's the trick. It's always tough. that first week classes. I know to me and you know, going to class seems easy, but
Yeah,
you know, the
right.
college kids, it wears them out, you know, and they're fighting for their routines and trying to figure those things out first couple weeks. And we got a lot of kids that are really serious about academics, so they're really trying to set themselves up for a great semester. So it's tiring. There's no way to go around it. You know,
Yeah.
it's teams all across America are battling that. So it's really you know, getting into that routine as fast as possible, but it's just a part of it's kind of nature of the beast.
There you go. Well, Coach, thanks so much for your time. That'll do it here for us on the Dan Presel Show. Game tonight, Clark, Atlanta, Lemoyne, Owen on Monday. Make sure you come into the gym or tune in here on the SHC Athletics YouTube channel, and we'll see you next week.